Greetings and bienvenue, midnight crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
New Mexico, 505, 575 thread. Anyone got any stories? For supposedly the most paranormal state in the US, I have never seen a thread about it.
I'm going to drop a story that happened to me a few years back. Some will believe it, some won't. But it is the truth. Originally, I thought Phil Schneider was a liar, but I lived in Dulce, so I decided to poke around the mesa with a friend. And maybe Schneider did lie and just used the legend of Dulce IDK. Here's my story. June 2015. Me and a friend go poking around an area we know to have vents. Find nothing for hours, decide to start walking to the car. Friend freaks out. A fucking vent, dude. I call bullshit but run over. A literal fucking vent the size of a car sticking outside the fucking mesa. Oh fuck, should we go in? What if we die or worse? Balls out, we go in very quietly. I'm freaking balls because of lizard people legends. Get pretty far in and find nothing. Just a little further, bro. Come to a door that's locked. Can't go any further, let's go back. Friend, no wait, let's listen for a second, see if we hear anything. Fine. Start to hear what sounds like creatures or animals moving around. Start to hear vehicles driving around. Start to hear some people yelling. Sounds like a military installation or something. Hear some language we never heard before mixed with people speaking English. A friend looks under the crack of the door to see if he can see anything. Says he sees a guy in black fatigues walking. A friend jumps up, beats red and starts running back the way we came. Me WTF. Chase after him. Get in the car. He's about to die of a panic attack. Says he saw a guy in black fatigues with some weird dinosaur legs. Jurassic Park raptor shit. Literally will not speak about this to me or go back anywhere near the vent. Pic related as what it looked like, but not my photo. I wish my friend would go on record talking about it, but he's too scared and says he feels like he'll be killed.
The man from Socorro. I work in the protective custody wing of the prison, which means I get celebrities, law enforcement, and files for clients. Man comes in after doing about 15 years solitary confinement in Santa Fe. Anybody who knows anything about Santa Fe knows that, even after the riot and lawsuits, it's zero fun. Guy is essentially Michael Myers from the zombie remakes in physicality. Actually pretty genteel as far as his voice, just a country boy, that sort of thing. Back in the 80s he heard. I say heard, because he had no confirmation, no cops, no news, not even a word from the girl in question. Heard that his cousin was being touched. Uh-oh. This guy was always a pretty big fellow. New Mexico towns that aren't Santa Fe or Albuquerque are basically small and rural, with a little flavor here and there, but mostly desert villages. He knew the guy. With no confirmation, drags him out into the scrub in Socorro and saws his head off. Coyotes did a number on the head, but people put two and two together. His case makes the news, which means protective custody. Original caseworker in the 80s asks him, considering his crime, what he thinks of Minecraft YouTubers.
Sir, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't like him. If I see him, I'll kill him.
They put him in with a file, I guess for shits and giggles. Ever see American History X? Remember the curb scene? Picture that with a stone bed. Upper skull removed from lower skull by force of stomping alone. 15 years solitary confinement. Comes back to my facility. Yay, my first celebrity case. Mr. X, your transfer made the news. I hear his cuffs clink, and I have never been more afraid of a piece of metal in my existence. Says nothing. Mr. X, considering your previous incidents, I have to ask, what are your thoughts on those kinds of offenders? I hate having to use PC language, but whatever, He knew what I was talking about.
Sir, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't like them.
Clink.
But I am not going back to Santa Fe.
He never said he wouldn't kill anybody, but he knew better than to risk going back. Put him in with a crooked cop. They'd been doing well for about 6 months when I left. Be me 8 years ago. Was 12 then, her 20 years old. Camping with family at campsite. Me, brother, 2 sisters, mom, and stepdad. Have an old-ass blind dog that has been in the family forever. Dog could hardly hear anymore. Skippy, dog's name, would sleep with me in my tent. One night, in the summer, it's pitch black out. Skippy is going fucking apeshit outside tent. Barking, whining, etc. Wait for another family member to do something because I am a lazy 12-year-old who wants to go back to sleep. No one does. Goddamn it, Skippy. Go outside the tent to grab a dog. She stops barking as soon as I am outside. She is looking straight into the woods while whining. Way off in the woods, see tall, and I mean tall white figure standing next to tree. Huge ass trees in New Mexico mountains. Creature's legs are at least 9 feet long, torso twice as long, and its arms are damn near touching the top of the tree. Right then remember stupid native folklore stepdad was using to spook me while hiking yesterday. Stand there staring at it, and it eventually turns and lumber into woods. Slowly go back into the tent full nope con 5. To this day I wonder how my blind ass dog saw that motherfucker. Pic related. Skippy. I have more photos and stories from the same camping ground if anyone is reading and interested. Another time I was walking through trees with my little brother. Come to a big clearing with lots of knocked down trees. Fuck yes. JPG Fort Wars time. Build some kick-ass forts out of trees. Stepdad helps us cut wood. Felt like a badass because I got to swing an axe and use a saw. Dead middle of summer in New Mexico. Fucking 8 million degrees outside, like, set your skin on fire hot. Don't care though, cuz having fun. Brother and dad heading back to the campsite. Dad says I can stay alone if I want. Yes please, fort so fun. About 40 minutes after they are gone, they get a chill down their spine. Thought I was going to pass out from the temperature changes so quickly. Sit down in the fort because sweat on my back is making me shiver. Look up across the clearing. All white figures hunched over in the tree line. Crawling backwards on the ground but head is right side up. Like if you planted your feet on the ground and arched your back so your palms are touching the ground, except your head is right side up. My throat goes dry and my legs start shaking. It starts running straight towards me. I remember being so cold I could hardly stand back up. Damn near paralyzed in fear. Can't even comprehend how fucking scared I was. Eventually I was able to run. I know the thing was behind me the whole time. The part that chills my bones to this day. The part that I shit you not I think about every night before I go to sleep. The whole time it was chasing me, it kept saying, "Skippy, Skippy, come here." The phrase I was yelling at was Skippy as mentioned in the previous story. When I came storming into camp, my dad immediately stood up with his rifle and asked me what was wrong. Took a few minutes before I was calm enough to explain. He and my brother both believed me and recalled the dogs fit a few trips ago. Pic is me and Skippy. I think I actually have a picture of the clearing we were in if anyone wants to hear my other few stories I can recall. Be a year or so later. Back at the same campsite because my family loves camping and this site is badass. Sleeping in a tent near the same area as the first encounter. I ain't afraid of no ghost. Just about to fall asleep when dad wakes me up. Hey bud, go drive into town to get medicine for your mom, she feels sick. You stay safe, okay? 'Kay dad, let me sleep please. Finally about to fall asleep again. My head is up against the wall of the tent and my ear is pressed against it so my head stays elevated. Something must have been laying on the ground with its mouth next to my ear outside the tent. I fuck you not, I hear. Skippy, come here. Literally the fastest a human being has ever gone from not sleeping to fully awake and in fight or flight mode. Morgan, brother's name. It's here again. He is awake and so is the rest of the family. Explain to mom past events and tell everyone what just happened. She tries to play mom and keep us calm but is visibly shaken. As soon as dad gets back, my mom tells him what happened. Dad takes me outside and walks around the tent with me, gives me his pistol and explains that if I ever see it, shoot it in the head. Feel better because fuck yeah, America. Never did hear or see that thing again. Still a little weary at that campsite even today. I have a few other Inwood stories but not near as paranormal. The others are about people. Pick related as my fort we built that one day. Okay, got another. Be a few years after other stories. Dad wants to go fishing with me and the girls. Go on a normal fishing trip, nothing out of the ordinary. On the way back, cruising around midnight with windows down in the truck. Going like 15 miles per hour on some old dirt road in the Jemez Mountains. Girls asleep in back, me and dad up front making fart jokes. All of a sudden we get a weird vibe that something is following us. Dad must have sensed it too, but he was always a curious fuck, so he slows down. Know that if I say anything he will call me a wuss. I heard something walking near my window in the tree line. Trees were about 8 feet from the car on either side. One of those god damn it dad please no moments. Hear something out my window gurgle and growl at same time. I can hear creatures' footsteps slowly trotting. Dad stops the car and looks out my window. Clutching that pistol he gave me in my holster like it is the only thing keeping me in this world, refuse to look out my window because I'm so scared, only staring my dad in the face as he looks over my shoulder. It's really quiet. Realizing the creature's footsteps had stopped. Hear it blow air out what I imagine is its nose. Dad smiles and so do I, thinking a horse scared us. Then, at the exact same time, realize a horse would not be a fucking mile above sea level in the goddamn mountains. Still staring at dad, his face goes white and eyes get bigger. Whip my head to the right and the front end of this thing is sticking out of trees. What I can only describe as my heart stopping and blood freezing is how I felt. It had the head of a person, but no eyes, and its nose looked like a horse's snout. It was standing on 4 legs and looked like a person half between human and horse shape. I think it tried to speak but just gargled instead. Dad fucking stomps on the gas. I swear we did not stop doing 50 the whole way down the mountain. Don't even speak until back in Albuquerque. Dad is still weird about it to this day. Clever dad tricks like, maybe we were tired, or, it was late and we both wigged each other out. Dad has never been like this. A few years ago we were both drunk and I brought it up. Oh my god, you drank at 19 with dad? Yes. He says that he thinks it was a skinwalker. All of sudden makes sense. We are in New Mexico where all those Indians were. Half horse, half human. Realization scared the shit out of me. Why the fuck want the scary shit? Leave me alone. I just wanna camp, goddammit. Sometimes I wonder if I only go camping to keep seeing this shit out here. Got some more if you dudes are still around. Feels good to type this shit out. Maybe a few before the next story is up. I want to go get soda out of the shed fridge. Goddammit, you guys got me all wigged out to walk across the yard. Pick related. Me on that fishing trip.
Not really a city, but small, heavily, like fire you over your religious beliefs and give no fucks about getting sued. Religious town in New Mexico. Bunch of spoopy shit went on there, like there's a Ghosts of America page for Clovis. Hotel Clovis. One of the oldest buildings in town. Closed down over 50 years ago for whatever reason. Probably because it wasn't really taken care of. Always get told stories by older kids about people self-ending themselves by jumping off the roof, shooting themselves in the building, etc. I don't believe it, but the building is still creepy as hell. Tall clusterfuck of brick with those tiny frosted windows. Kind of looks like an asylum. Always see faces in some of the windows. Talk to friends about it because kids are into too spooky stories. Suddenly it's like a silence is broken and a few of the other kids start speaking up about how they've seen shit at Hotel Clovis too. One friend, Caitlin, starts fucking bawling saying how faces have looked directly at her from the same windows each time. Everyone's shitting bricks, a few kids are shaking, Caitlin's crying. Never speak of Hotel Clovis again. My older brother tells me about how he and some friends broke into it once and explored it. Aside from the asbestos, they didn't find anything, but they heard a lot of crazy noises and saw shadows and whatnot. Move out of New Mexico a few years later. I hear these days they're either renovating it or trying to. I have a shit ton of stories from that state actually. The entire region is fucked. Thread is dead, so I guess I'll just post with another story from New Mexico. Not really spooky but kind of suspicious. Tinfoilers may enjoy this one. I moved from Curry County to Lee County when I was a toddler. Clovis and a bunch of other small towns are in Lee County. A lot of the older folks have a scar on their necks, in the front and near the base. None of the kids have it, just the people who were middle-aged or older. Have mom ask about it one day because shy kid. Turns out a while back just about everyone in Lee County somehow got thyroid cancer and the scars were from getting rid of it. They called it Lee County cancer. There was never an explanation for it. None of the people around there were the type to ask questions. Mom says it was probably something in the water. Everyone in that town was super docile about whatever weird shit happened, which kind of freaks me out now.
Boy, do I have a story for you guys. This all started about 1 month ago in New Mexico. Be me. High school student friends, one college friend. Let's call high school friends 1 and 2, M and B. College friend is D. D has a great idea. Let's go camping. We all get in D's flatbed pickup truck, go to random areas, don't know where we really went. Not good with locations/directions. I bring a small cooler, dinner, sodas, and card games. M brought a fire starting kit, B was kinda a fuckwad so he didn't bring shit. D brings a car, and flashlights, with batteries. We all had our own pillows and bedrolls we got from some shitty camping store up north. We get there and set up. B forgot his 3DS, whines about it a little. We all took shots making fun of him. Night comes, and we all start to get tired. We all decided we'd try to stay up until we passed out. Everyone but me fucking passes out. For some strange fucking reason, I can't sleep. Tired, but something is bothering me. CB, get up, he has to piss. He walks over to a rock to go pee. M and D wake up because of him. We all start to talk, they're less tired. A while passes by, B doesn't come back, M gets worried. We hear B screaming like he's being attacked by coyotes or some shit. M follows B. D and I stay slightly worried, not talking normally. Get flashlights and get ready to come after them. They come back anyways. Friends seem off, can see their complexion is 10x lighter in the light of the fire. But the biggest red flag. They're both bleeding, and from the same spot but don't say anything about it. D asks what happened. They say the both fell and cut themselves on rock trying to help each other up. Why did they fall? They're acting really off, and we're getting freaked the fuck out. D whispers to me, and tells me to run to the car without anything as soon as we can. We do. Crack the window down and tell them to sit in the bed of the truck. They leave our shit behind, and do as we say. D drives us all back home. We never speak to M and B again.
First, an old story from my dad about his time revisiting his mother in the res. This was in the 60s or 70s, I think, and whenever I see a thread about skinwalkers, it shows how much people just up the spook and gore factor of things for whatever reason. B. My dad revisiting mother's house. TOF. Get in touch with family after name. Brother, mother, aunt, and brother's wife are all in this dusty trailer in the middle of fucking nowhere. Dad's getting ready to head out when a loud series of bangs hits the side of the trailer and then a large scurrying is heard just outside the door. Dad looks at his brothers and proceeds to gather their weapons. A .38 Special and .45 Auto along with various long knives. They proceed outside into the dark night and round about the trailer a few times with no luck on seeing whatever was outside. After about a half hour of patrol, my uncle decides to go back inside, but my dad says he'll go check in his truck in case some drunks decide to break into it. Common problem. As my dad is walking to the truck, he glances out towards the dirt driveway and notices a figure sitting hunched over in the darkness. My dad plays it off and continues to look at his truck until he runs over to the figure. As he's about 20 feet away, the figure stands up, revealing to be a man about 5'6", and before he has the chance to run away, my dad shoots his .45 in the air as a warning. The man immediately sits back down and my dad grabs him by the back of his neck and brings him into the porch light. This guy is wearing animal skins, and I'm not talking about treated and finely snipped and taxed animal skins. Still bloody and very warm to the touch, leaving an occasional drop of blood on the ground. My dad realizes what this guy is and proceeds to throw him into the trailer and onto a couch inside. My dad tells his brother to call the cops, and while my uncle is doing so, my dad is keeping this man pinned to the couch by the barrel of his .45. After about 25 minutes, there's a knock at the door. Expecting it to be the police, they open the door only to find a disgruntled native family. They explain that the man they held hostage is their son and that they are taking him home and that they will regret this. They take the man and are never seen again. That's about it. Save for a few years later when my dad's dad, my grandfather of course, died and they received a package full of deer bones in an unmarked manila envelope. Sorry for the individual comment and any spelling mistakes. I am on the phone. I have a few more stories as well. Another story. This one's about a few friends who worked out in the oil field. This is out near Hog Back, if any of you know what that is. It's a tiny town with mountains that are a geologist's wet dream because they are rising from the fractures in the tectonic plates, and you can see all the volcanic activity that was happening in New Mexico in the past, amidst the rock layers in the side of the mountain. Anyways, this guy and his buddy are wrapping up a day of work. Locking up mechanisms, securing supplies, whatever. I never worked in the oil field and I pray I never do. In the middle of the job site are these large concrete tubes and they're about 5 foot tall. As my buddy is walking around making sure everything is up to OSHA standard, he looks inside these tubes for drunks. Again, common problem. He sees the outline of a strange shape and as his eyes adjust from the aggressive desert sun, he realizes it's a big fucking lizard. Fucker had to have been at least 20 feet long because the tubes were 40 and he took up half the length of these things. My buddy said, imagine a Komodo dragon but way bigger and not as green. My buddy and his coworker decide that they should just leave before Truckzilla decides it's hungry. A few sessions from fellow employees confirm their suspicions and they soon finish the job and never return. Apparently it's been sighted before in the surrounding area and is sort of a legend. I had a friend who lived in Lamy, New Mexico. All kinds of spoopy shit was always going on there. One night we were chilling on her porch and we heard the train coming. She lived on the street across the tracks and it was nothing new, but as it got closer we noticed something: no lights. The train blasts through the station without stopping, fast and loud as shit. We never got a look at it cause it was pitch black and the entire train had not one light on. Her mom knew a lot of things about that town but would never go into details. She told us if that train ever stopped, no matter what, never get on it. Another story, and I'm not green texting, so fuck off. I stayed over at her house a lot and her family was always going off about how the house used to be an old brothel and was haunted, but I had stayed over tons of times and nothing ever happened. Her mom told me about one spirit named Henry who was very active. He was a nice guy and didn't want to spook no one. She told me if I ever saw him and was afraid, just to tell him I was scared and to please leave. One night she pissed me off. I forget how. I always sleep on the floor of her room, so I go to sleep on the couch. I'm going to bed and I just can feel someone in the room. So I turn around to tell her to fuck off and I freeze. In the entryway there is someone there. I can't see them but I just know they are there. Then I notice a vague outline, almost like a blurry outline of a man's shape, and the longer I stare the more I can see it almost moving like someone breathing. I say, "Henry, please go, I'm afraid." Fucking thing moves and walks into the other room. Looked like a heat haze of a man walking. Nope. Fucking run into her room in a panic, grab my shit. She's telling me to calm down, the whole house is awake at this point. I'm losing my shit, jump in my car and I am out. I'm speeding down the back dirt roads of Lamy at like 3 a.m. and I notice a light coming up fast behind me. Now a little backstory: in Lamy there lived this trailer park asshole who had a trash car with one headlight who would always speed down the roads, almost hitting people, hitting people's pets and forcing people off the road. He did it to me a few times, but I was riding on such an adrenaline rush after meeting Henry that I was like, not tonight, fucker. So I gun it. I'm speeding down the roads fast as shit and this idiot is still gaining on me. My car was a piece of shit, me being a high school student at the time, so it was overheating and my engine is making horrible noises and this fucker is right on my ass. At this point I can't slow down. This guy is so close to me and I'm worried that if I try to pull over to the side of the dirt road I'm going to flip my car. Before I can make up my mind what to do, the single light shoots straight up into the sky. I slow my car down and look out my window, and behind me the light is just hovering in the sky, maybe 40 feet, then it shoots off fast across the sky. I sit in my car for about 20 minutes in the middle of the dirt road doing nothing. Finally get my hands to stop shaking enough to light up a smoke, then drive home. I lived about an hour away. Never spent the night at my friend's house again and never really liked staying there after dark. One more. This takes place after the Henry story. I finally calmed down enough to hang out past dark and I'm thinking of staying over that night. Her parents are gone for the night, so it's just me, my friend, her sister and probably Henry. Her sister is on the computer. All the lights in the house are out and me and my friend are chilling outside, laying on the hood of my car smoking cigs and talking about how hard life was because we were in high school and no one understood us, all that friendly bullshit. We heard a noise in the bushes but thought nothing of it because she had big dogs and those fuckers were always running around at night. Then the noise gets louder and we hear a grunting wet animal noise. Oh shit. It's pitch black and we only have a lighter on us. I left my keys inside and my car was locked. More noise. I tell her to start moving to her house slowly. We slide off the hood and bam, the bushes erupt into noise. A bleeding sound comes from that direction and something is charging us and we run. Now my friend had a self-preservation instinct that was dick level. She once tripped me when we pissed off a bull and it charged us when we didn't notice a break in the fence that was holding it, so once again I bite it to the ground as she once again tripped me to get away. She made it to the front door screaming all the way and I'm up and 3 seconds behind her and the bitch slams the door on me and locks it. I'm outside banging on the door screaming for her to let me the fuck in. Meanwhile the demon Skinwalker devil hound from hell is grunting and charging me from behind. It's almost on me. It's huge. I can smell its stink and its rancid breath. Then her sister opens the door and I burst in and we slam the door. Something huge collides with the door, shaking it, and she's screaming, "What the fuck was that?" We lock everything, the doors, the windows. The dogs are outside, but they won't come when we call them through the dog door. Fuck, too late for them. We are inside scared as shit, not knowing what to do. We grab flashlights looking outside, seeing nothing. Then we see the bush moving and what looks like a huge eye. Nope. Run to her room like little bitches and wait out the night. The next morning her parents are home. We rush them as they come in trying to tell all three of our sides of the story all at once. Her parents are just looking at us, not like we are crazy but like they believe us. Then her mom busts out laughing and takes us outside. The neighbor up the road's donkey had gotten loose and the fucker wandered over to her house in the night. That what the creature we had encountered. Strange how your mind can play tricks on you in the dark.
This one about my dad's ex-wife, I believe. Be walking home at night along the side of a highway because I broke native. Complete darkness, only light is from the headlights of the occasional car that passes by. Halfway home a car's headlights illuminate the silhouette of a person far off from to her right in a close field. She chalks it up to being a farmer or whatever and tries to calm herself down because she has to make it home. About 5 minutes later she's overtaken by the sound of someone running behind her. As a strong independent native lady who is devout to God, she stops in her tracks and turns around, dropping her satchels and whatnot. She meets face to face with a man who was running on the ground on all fours. A brief minute of silence passes by and she exclaims that her God is stronger than any magic he may practice or God he may worship and that he could never harm her. After another brief pause the person goes away off the side of the highway and she continues home with no incident.
I've got one from when I was really little. Be me, Aztec. About 3 to 4 or so, I can't remember too well. Mom was dating this asshole named Cain at the time. He had 3 kids, then there was me and my sister. We all got along fine, except for my mom and Cain, because he's an asshole. We live in an A-frame house, shitty place, with unsanitary water, cracked foundation, and cheap rent though. Apparently a few guys had self-end themselves in that house. The second one stalked a sheriff's daughter. He hung himself in the attic after the cops found out. Be in the kitchen, it's night time, I'm getting a drink or something and I see something. There's a guy, just standing in the fucking kitchen, looking at me. Looks like a regular dude, he's just got his neck cocked to the side a bit, looks curiously at me. He disappears after I leave the kitchen. Mom, who's that guy in the kitchen?
What?
There's a guy in the kitchen, Mommy.
Ah.
Mom was really into the occult. She did a Ouija board with me when I was still in her womb. I also have an astral projection experience and my dad's dark mirror divination story if anyone's interested. Needless to say, we moved out a little bit after.
I'm from Albuquerque. I'll post a few. First one is my most memorable experience. Be me, 13 or 14. Riding around the Sandia foothills on my dirt bike, maybe 30 minutes from the northeast part of the city, over by the tram and that big tramway loop if anyone from Albuquerque is reading. Ride down into a big washed out area. Riding down a dirt arroyo, about 5 feet deep. Come up on a corner. There's a bunch of garbage piled up. Stop. Hop off my bike, wondering why there's so much shit here. Then the smell hits me. In the next curve of the S-bend of the gully is a pile of dead coyotes, probably 4 or 5 blood everywhere, bloody matted fur and shit. Flies everywhere. The smell is fucking awful. I can still see one of the coyote heads kinda leering at me from the pile. Put my face under my shirt to try and stand the smell. Retreat to the pile of garbage, look at what it actually is. Cans, bottles, some grocery bags. See rusty, bloody knife. Nope the fuck out. Ride my bike down the ditch for a few minutes, nothing else to see. Pull out of the ditch, nothing around on surface level. Ride back home fast as fuck. Tell my parents. They either don't believe me, or don't care, say it's no big deal. I think about this a lot and it sketches the fuck out of me that someone was out there just murdering coyotes. My parents are from New Mexico too, and from weirder parts than Albuquerque, so I think they know to just not question some of the weird shit that happens. Next one. Be me, 18. Backpacking and camping in the Gila National Forest. Just me, girlfriend, and my corgi. Deep in a woods, probably about 30 miles from where we parked the car. Set up camp for the night on the bank of a small stream, wide open gravel breach. Pretty flat tent is at the edge of the beach next to a hill to keep from wind. Stream is probably 40 feet away. Night falls. Girlfriend, corgi, and I are in tent, comfy. Outside is very quiet. Stream gurgle and some wind and crickets is all there is to hear very late. Probably after midnight. We both wake to a loud crunching and dragging sound. Sounds like a tree being dragged across the beach, like pull pull pull. No sound of feet or animal or anything. I take the tiniest peek out of the tent. On the bank of the river I see something tall. Silhouette had to be 10+ feet tall. Silhouette is still. I'm frozen cold, I have no idea what is out there. I lean back into the tent and close the flap quietly, telling my girlfriend I didn't see anything. Then I noticed my dog. This corgi is brave as fuck. Literally chases deer for fun and has barked at mountain lions, but she's curled into a tiny ball with her ears down, totally silent next to my girlfriend. She looks terrified. I told my girlfriend I didn't see anything, probably a bear or elk or something. In the morning we wake up. Sign something was dragged through the gravel of the beach, down to the stream, nothing else. We hiked back the next few nights and always camped super close to the trail after that. Now let me start by saying that, having spent my entire life living in New Mexico, a lot of people I know have claimed to have seen a skinwalker. They are kind of our regional boogeymen. But ask a Navajo about them and they will either absolutely ignore the question and all following, or they will kind of laugh it off, saying something to the effect of, well, white people believe they are myths. Well, here's my story regarding them. My father owns a small delivery service that operates out of Farmington, New Mexico. We mostly deliver small packages out to the middle of nowhere that are too much of a hassle for the larger delivery companies to bother with. My dad is the only employee and we have a few pickup trucks and a trailer. One day we got a delivery out to Window Rock, Arizona, on the Navajo reservation about 2 hours from Farmington. My dad gets the call for the job while he is chilling with his Navajo friend, Travis, and his girlfriend. Travis mentions how he's got family in Window Rock that he hasn't seen in ages and suggests they go with him. I was about 6 or 7 at the time and it was the summertime, so Dad decides we'll go down together. He can do his delivery really quick. Then while Travis sees his family we can go check out the Window Rock, big rock face with a large hole in it that goes to the other side, pretty cool. We had to convoy in separate trucks since my dad's was loaded down with freight. We decided to bring along some talkie-talkies so we could communicate with one another. We spend our time in Window Rock. Everything is generally uneventful and we start heading home along the old highway with my dad and I in front, and Travis and his girlfriend in their truck behind us. I honestly don't remember most of the Window Rock trip, but this next part one can never forget. We're somewhere on the highway between Window Rock and Gallup, New Mexico. It had just rained earlier in the day and the road was kind of slick, so we were taking it pretty slow. Pick related. On the left of the highway there is nothing but sandstone cliffs, and on the right there is a huge field separated from the road by a small barbed wire fence. We crest the top of this hill, and down at the bottom of the hill we see what appears to be a very large dog, sitting back on its haunches in the middle of the road, facing the cliffs. My dad calls over the radio.
"Hey Trav, do you see that big-ass dog?"
"That is not a dog. Speed up right now and hit it."
He sounds almost hysterical. He just keeps screaming.
"Hit it. JJ, you have to hit it. Please. Please. Hit that fucking thing right now."
So my dad starts to speed up, and as we get a bit closer I can begin to see it a little more clearly. It's covered in this brown, wiry, matted hair that appears to have dried blood all over it. It's still facing the cliffs, but the moment our headlights hit it, it turns and looks at us, and it has a face. I don't know how else to describe it other than a mix between a bear's and a human's face. It looks twisted and distorted and almost in pain. As we get closer to this thing we start to realize it's actually fucking huge. Though it was still sitting on its haunches, it is about shoulder height with the hood of the truck. We get literally inches from hitting it when it lets out this scream that sounds like someone screaming as their lungs were filling with water, and it leaps backwards, towards the field, landing just on our side of the barbed wire fence. Then with another leap it was gone from sight. Travis comes over the radio again. "Holy shit. Keep driving. We have to get out of here. We have to go faster." He kept repeating that last part. "We have to get out of here and we have to go faster." Pretty soon we are speeding like crazy, and just as we start to come near the outskirts of Gallup we get pulled over. Travis pulls his truck over with us. Naturally this makes the cop, a Navajo man himself, very on edge, and he immediately asks why Travis felt the need to pull over as well. Travis says, "We just saw a skinwalker a few miles back and it's been following us." The officer immediately turns white, stammers something about a verbal warning, gets in his car and takes off. We do the same. We didn't see anything else that night, but when we got home Travis refused to let us leave without taking some kind of Navajo totem thing that was supposed to keep it away. So yeah, I guess that's my Skinwalker story. Sorry for the length, but thank you for reading.
The following story is an X-classic that has been seen on this channel before.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Alright guys, I'm going to tell you all a story that happened about 2 years ago. Since I'm stupid and don't know how to green text and I'm on mobile, it will take a little while to upload it all. It happened at my grandma's house, in a small mountain town in New Mexico. It's so high up in the mountains you can stand in clouds. Back to the story. We were up there for my grandma's funeral because our aunt got the house and we got money. Anyways, I was outside on the back porch. It was huge because we were on the side of the mountain. It went all around the whole house except one side. There had always been this house barn thing at the bottom of the hill. It had a huge gas canister, and when you walked past it, it would smell bad. It constantly had flies, raccoons, squirrels, bears, etc. Also, it was pine trees fucking everywhere. So anyways, we had a 22 and were just taking pot shots at anything that moved. We also had a trailer that sat there for as long as I could remember right off the back porch. It had been abandoned for as long as I can remember, although my brothers and cousins told me they used to stay in it. Anyways, it had been abandoned and I was 16 at the time. My cousin dared me to shoot it. Since I don't back down from a dare, I shot at one of the wheels. It fucking exploded. And it tipped and rolled down the hill at that barn thing. It hit it and the gas canister. All we heard was a loud ass crash. The next thing I see will probably stay in my mind forever. 3 butt-ass naked men run out. Anyways, these 3 naked-ass guys run out. One of them was so fat and fucking hairy he could pass as a Bigfoot, and run towards the house and go under the porch. Our parents run out and are all freaking out and shit. Since part of my family is major redneck, they have rifles, shotguns, etc. Anyways, we all decide to shoot these weird fuckers. 2 of my cousins go on one side, one of my brothers stays on the porch with our uncle's handgun, and me and my brother are on the other side of the house. They are armed with their hunting rifles, while my bro has a hunting shotgun, while I'm armed with my grandma's old-ass double-barrel shotgun. Have I ever mentioned I have never shot a shotgun before? Anyways, I'm leading in front of my brother, despite him being 21 and me being 16. We all go around at the same time trying not to shoot each other. I come around first and the skinniest fucker runs at me with a knife. I didn't know what I was doing, so I squeezed both triggers at once. It blew my ass to the ground and ripped the gun out of my front arm, so I'm just holding it with hand on the trigger. Want to know what else got blown? A huge fucking hole inside of that guy's chest. He flies the fuck back and rolls down the hill a bit and stops. In the meanwhile, I'm fumbling about Fiji to reload because another one of the fuckers is running at me. Since I'm on the ground, he grabbed a nail board from under the porch and swings it at me. I pull up my arm just in time. It fucking sticks into my arm and he tries to book it past me. He swung it like a golf club. It's fucking deep in my arm too. I try to pull it out, and it's the most excruciating pain I've ever felt, even worse than the time I broke both growth plates in my knees in high school football. I finally managed to get it out. In the meanwhile, my cousins rush over. My brother turns and fires a buckshot into the guy's legs. He drops and tries to start crawling away. I managed to get up with help. With the help of my older cousins, I get up. We are looking over the guy that my brother shot. He's still alive and has this look of pure terror on his face. He was saying some bullshit along the lines of "Please don't go down there, please, please, please," and he wouldn't shut the fuck up. Then we hear yelling. It was Shrek. Just kidding, it was the fat guy who was shaped like Shrek though. He lowered his shoulder and plows through all of us. I can take a hit, but this fucker was fucking strong. I'm on the ground and look up. He's just yelling and running straight back into the woods. I hear a near-deafening shot. My cousin shot him in the back with a 308 round from his hunting rifle. He drops and is wiggling around on the ground. By this time everyone is outside while this shit is happening, which includes kids under the age of 10. My bro runs down with his handgun. He's a personal trainer and still is, so he's pretty big. He runs over and has the big guy on gunpoint while one of my cousins runs over to help him. I get up and dust myself off. While still bleeding, I just kind of hold the wound and walk up to the guy I shot. It will never leave my mind. His chest was literally exploded. Anyways, I call one of my cousins over, load up my shotgun, and walk back down to the barn. He tries to stop me and I just tell him to follow. We walk down together while my aunt calls the ranger or sheriff or whatever he was. It was a mountain town. We walk up to this barn and inside is the foulest smelling, reeking mounds of something we have ever seen. You thought the guy I shot was bad? 9 dead bodies, 4 were skeletons, 3 were rotting half-eaten, 2 were recent kills. I fucking puked. One of them was a kid younger than me. He had gone missing a few weeks before we got there. I remember because my aunt was telling my younger cousins not to run off cause the kid probably had gotten eaten by a mountain lion. My cousin just kind of turned away with an angry look. My cousin was fucking pissed. He had kids and they were younger, and he walks back up the mountain to the two guys. They had managed to drag the fat guy back to his skinny friend. He kind of looked like a scrapper from the Fallout 3 Lookout DLC. My cousin was fucking furious. He pointed his gun at the skinny one's face and we had to fucking hold him back. He had kids. We all understood, but Jesus fucking Christ. They were going to cannibalize that kid back there. I was feeling like shit, so I just walked up to the porch holding my arm and kind of just sat down. The ambulance can't get up the rocky ass road up to the house, so my uncle drove me to the hospital. The whole time I just stayed silent. He would ask questions and I would just sit there and stay quiet. I couldn't get the image of the bodies out of my mind. We got to the hospital and they treated the wound. I had to get a tetanus shot, etc. The cop was lazy as frick and just waited for me to come back. So he took the guys to his squad car and called in the forensic guys or whatever to get the bodies, the ones in the barn and the guy I shot. I got back around 2 hours later and I just kind of walked in and I was like the elephant in the room. Everyone stared at me. I usually walk around with a dead expression on my face to make people feel uncomfortable, but this time it was legit. My mom told me the cop was on the back porch, so I walked out and we did the whole "what happened? What did you see? What did you do?" bullshit. I told him everything that happened, even with my brothers and cousins there. I just kind of sat there for a while and just stared as the guys took the bodies away. The crew took me to the side of the house where nobody could hear us. He told me something along the lines of those guys were literally insane. They were eating those people. They were cannibals. You did the right thing, kid. And he just kind of walked off. And the cops and shit fucked off. When we walked back inside, I just kind of sat there looking at my feet. My uncle, which is really redneck, despite him living in El Paso, Texas, which is practically Beamer town, balls up and asks me, "Well, what did the cop ask and say?" I told him the stuff and the people's faces in the room were mixes of disgust and depression. I just kind of started crying. I know it was a pussy thing to do. I wasn't wailing or shit. Just tears. I just started at the ground and just sat there like that while people watched. I kind of wiped my face and looked up and just stared out the window. I just let the words come out of my mouth and said, "If you have any questions, just ask me. It'll be easier to put them out now, so you don't have to ask later." I only got a few questions, like, "What happened? Are you alright? Are you okay?" The one that fucked me up the most was my small cousin, Dylan. He was 8, asking me, "What was in the barn?" It just kind of fucked me up a little. I turned to my cousin, who went down there with me, if I should tell him. He said, "Fuck it." So, I told them 9 dead bodies. I told them the shit about some of them being half-eaten and some were spooky skeletons. Then I said, the one that fucked me up the most was the kid that got abducted a few weeks ago. It was him. Everyone just stared at me. What fucked me up the most was the next day, more cops showed up. I walked down with them to the barn and we walked into the basement. They restored power for a short amount of time, so a single light bulb lit up the room. There was writing everywhere. Every single inch was covered in random words and some Latin bullshit. We walked back out and I felt as if I had a heavy weight lifted off my shoulders. Want to know why? I gave closure to all the families whose family members had gone missing. They might not want to hear they got eaten or were going to, but I took what that cop said to heart. Next few days the cops would come every now and then to check up. I stayed for questions for the next few weeks and eventually took a plane back. But in those few weeks me and my cousin covered the barn, from basement to attic, in gasoline and burned it down. Over the days everyone got used to, what used to be a cute boy with a baby face, is now a killer with a baby face. Like seriously, it takes me months to grow inch-long hairs on my face. It wasn't released in the news because it would fuck up the town's reputation. A few months after I leave the cop that I talked to, his partner got shot and killed by some crazy guy, literally at the house at the entrance, to go to the house on the hill. Sometimes I break down and cry when I remember. The one thing that fucked me up the most is, I have sleep paralysis. I woke up and couldn't move. I have to constantly listen to things for me to not have it. I listen to music live streams now. I was in the paralysis and was sitting there and I saw the kid. He was sitting on the end of my bed. He turns to me and says one word. Thanks, and he was gone. I woke up just sitting there. I didn't know what to do. I used to go to a psychiatrist, and I told him about the thing. He told me spirits can contact through sleep. It was good he did. I did right that day, and now people will be happy that I did do good, other families and even mine. I'm happy now. Finn. I'll take questions now.
Still here?
Yeah.
Is this a true story or fiction?
True, I understand you probably doubt me. It is 4chan, but I'm being 100% honest.
What happened to the guys who lived?
Fuck if I know, and I don't care. Hopefully they're dead.
You didn't have to testify in court against them?
Not in that tiny-ass town. There is no court. You either get shot or sit in a cell for weeks until you get transferred to another town.
What was the kid's name who you found who was kidnapped?
Mitchell.
Someone screen cap this, shit's brutal. Sorry you had to go through it, Anon. At least you'll always have a good story to jump to when you need to get laid.
Should I tell my current girlfriend of 7 months? Or do you think it's too personal? I haven't really told anyone because it's my first solid relationship in years.
That all depends on your relationship. I've been seeing my girl for 7 months and I'd probably tell her. But not randomly. One of those times that you're sharing deep shit with each other. Don't do it cause I said to. I'm just some dude from the internet. You know your relationship best, bro. Good luck, Anon.
Thanks for the advice. Godspeed, bro.
Did they cook the people?
Nope. They were just bodies with big ass bites taken out of them, despite I saw a steak knife on the ground.
Shit, man, this is so fucked up. Sorry you got through this. Did this story have any other influence upon you, other than sleep paralysis?
Contemplated killing myself a few times. Got over that stage though, just realized I have to live with it for the rest of my life.
My grandpas and 2 of his sisters all swear that they were abducted by aliens in New Mexico in the mid-70s. His family moved around a lot as my great-grandpa was in the military and was not allowed to talk about what he did exactly. All he remembers is that him and his 2 sisters were all laying on the floor with a few blankets and pillows as it was hot as fuck in New Mexico at the time. It was the middle of the night and he says he woke up to 3 figures standing over him. He says that he didn't feel scared because it was as if they didn't have bad intentions. They were apparently speaking in a language, or whatever you'd call it, and pointing at him and his sisters. He says he blacked out from then on and the only thing he remembers after that is being on what he believes was a spaceship on top of a table with the 3 figures around him again speaking whatever language. After that he woke up and he was back in his house the next morning. He brushed it off as some weird-ass dream until his 2 sisters told him and each other about the same exact dream. They each have this weird symbol in their skin on their right side. One of his sisters has a square with a dot in it, the other sister has a circle with a dot in it and he has a triangle with a dot in it. The symbols are perfectly symmetrical and aren't a scar but look like the skin was just pressed down. Kind of like when you lay on your arm too long and you get those weird marks but way more defined and thicker. I used to think this was just a story he told me to as a kid to scare me, but my great-aunts have shown me their marks and if I ask him or them about it anymore they get really defensive and kind of spooked. I'll also post another story about them that's weird as fuck. A couple of months or so after this they moved back to Ohio and settled down. He woke up in the middle of the night and saw this super mean old lady who lived down the street screaming at him. He says he couldn't see her face and all it looked like was as if a bright light was in place of her face. He got scared as fuck and ran out of his room and into his parents, who told him he was just having a nightmare. The next day he went to school and came home and his parents were talking about how the old lady had died of a heart attack the night before. He was pretty spooked about it for a while, but it didn't happen again until a couple months later. His dad had a friend who was a mechanic and would come over and shoot the shit with his dad. When he came over one day, his face looked the same as the old lady's, where it was just a bright light with no physical features. The next day, sure enough, the dude is crushed by a car he was working on and dies shortly after. It didn't happen for a long time after that, until he was 20-something and his brother's face looked the same way. His brother was a piece of shit drug dealer and was doing a home invasion when he was shot in the stomach and bled out and died. It's never happened since, and if it has, he just doesn't tell anyone. Some weird ass shit, man. Also have another one about my mom seeing a ghost when she was really young. My grandparents' house was built in the 1800s and many people have died in their house, so it makes sense that ghosts would be active there. My mom was 8 years old when she woke up suddenly and had the feeling that something was watching her. Her bedroom door was open and outside is a small platform with a door to my grandparents' room and steps that go up and down. Standing at the top of the steps was a man she says looked like Abraham Lincoln. He had a top hat and was very tall. She says it looked like an old man in suit. He was pointing downstairs and towards their kitchen. Shortly after this he disappeared. My mom went and woke up my grandpa, who went downstairs to check out everything. When he got to the kitchen, he smelled gas like a motherfucker. Apparently their stove had broke and was leaking gas like crazy. My grandpa has smoked 2 packs a day since he was 16 and always gets up for a cigarette in the middle of the night. Another time he says he was sitting in the living room watching TV when a tall man wearing a top hat who looked exactly the same walked in front of him and straight through the wall. This was a couple years previous to the gas incident. Another time there was a serial arsonist going around burning down people's homes in the neighborhood. He woke up in his bed and felt the same way my mom did, as if someone else was in the room. The same man was again present and was standing and pointing out the window at the corner of the house closest to the street. He then vanished again as my grandpa got up and looked outside. There was a guy who had pushed a large piece of cardboard underneath the siding of the house and was trying to light it with a lighter. My grandpa called the police and then got his gun and headed downstairs and outside. The dude ran and was caught a couple of blocks away. Just some crazy as shit.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.